They won't say it to your face, but the world quietly assumes you're done. If you didn't make it by 30, it's over. That's the message whispered between the lines of every headline, every job ad, every influencer's success story. They call it realism, but it's really resignation. And the worst part, somewhere deep down, you started believing it. You scroll through Instagram, watching people younger than you rise, go viral, buy houses, launch brands. Each time someone asks, "So what are you up to these days?" something tightens in your chest. You smile, but inside that voice returns, soft, not loud. "I should have figured it out by now." But here's the truth the world doesn't tell you. You're not late. You were just lied to. You haven't been failing. You've been forging. The fire that burns hottest takes the longest to ignite. Early success often looks glamorous, but beneath the surface it's hollow, rushed, fragile, untested. You've been learning the kind of lessons no book can teach: resilience, discernment, patience, silence. The world worships youth because it's noisy, but the late bloomers, they move quietly, deliberately, permanently. You are not behind, you are becoming, because something shifts after 40. You stop chasing praise and start building legacy. You start caring less about being seen and more about being solid. And maybe that delay everyone warned you about, maybe it was protection. Maybe you weren't supposed to rise when your ego was still fragile. You were meant to rise when your roots were deep. The world is measured by clocks, but clocks don't measure awareness. So if you've ever looked in the mirror and felt that silent ache, something inside me is still waiting. This message is for you. It's not time to catch up. It's time to arrive. Somewhere along the line, we absorbed a dangerous lie. It sounds harmless, but it's poison. You should have figured it out by now. You're too old to start over. That ship has sailed. You hear it in family conversations, in polite questions that sound like concern but carry judgment. You see it everywhere. In Hollywood's obsession with youth, in job ads disguised as culture fit, in startup culture's fetish for 22-year-old CEOs. The message is clear. If you haven't succeeded by 30, you're already late. And if you're still evolving after 40, the world doesn't see strength, it sees delusion. But stop and ask, who decided life should peak before our brains even fully mature? Who said the best ideas have an expiration date? It's fiction, sold as fact. When we were young, we confused speed with success. We thought if we weren't sprinting, we were failing. But that sprint, it wasn't ambition. It was fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of being invisible. Fear of being the only one still figuring it out. The truth? You didn't fail. You were misled. The real danger was never in moving slowly. It was in measuring your worth by your pace. And that belief wasn't born in you. It was programmed into you. Napoleon Hill called this the law of cosmic habit force, the idea that any thought, if repeated long enough, becomes internal law, a mental autopilot. That voice saying, "It's too late," isn't realism. It's residue. It's leftover programming from a world that confuses youth with value. Think about what youth really brings. Energy, yes. Confidence, maybe. But also inexperience, fragile identity, external validation. Early success often sits on shaky ground, built for applause, not for meaning. That's why so many who win early burn out early, because what they built wasn't themselves. It was a performance. But you're still here, maybe slower, maybe doubting, but still asking the question that matters most. Is there still something in me worth building? The answer is yes, absolutely yes. To get there, you have to destroy the timeline you were handed. You have to realize you're not behind schedule. You're just finally following your own. And that's not failure. That's freedom. Because once you reject the lie, you reclaim the truth. That some of the most powerful lives don't begin at 20. They begin at 47, or 58, or 63. Not in dorm rooms, but in quiet evenings, when someone finally whispers, "I'm not done yet." That's when the story truly begins. If youth was the peak, why do so many crash after reaching it? Because when your success comes before your identity, you end up building a life that doesn't belong to you. You chase applause instead of alignment. You perform instead of becoming. And when the applause fades, so do you. But late bloomers, they've already survived invisibility. They don't build for validation. They build for depth. They've tasted rejection and realized it doesn't kill you, it refines you. They've lived enough to tell the difference between ambition and purpose. They're dangerous, not because they're loud, but because they're steady. They don't sprint anymore. They walk, and every step they take shakes the ground. Real transformation doesn't happen under spotlights. It happens in silence, when no one's watching and no one's clapping. That's where late bloomers are made. The power of late bloomers. When your success comes after struggle, it's built on something stronger than hype. It's built on understanding. Late bloomers don't chase recognition. They build conviction. They've learned through loss, through silence, through years of being unseen, that the truest success doesn't demand applause. It demands authenticity. Because youth, for all its brightness, often burns fast and fragile. But wisdom glows slow and steady. After 40, something remarkable happens. You start to see patterns. You can read situations faster, people clearer, energy sharper. You recognize what's worth your time and what isn't. You no longer chase everything, you choose deliberately. That's not hesitation. That's mastery. Rejection that once broke you now builds you. You've been told not enough times to realize it doesn't mean never. It just means not yet. You failed enough to know that failure isn't the end. It's the teacher. That's what makes late bloomers unstoppable. They've shed ego. They've outgrown fear. They no longer need to prove. They just want to build. Psychologist Carl Jung called this process individuation, the moment when you stop living by other people's definitions and start becoming your true self. In your 20s, you're still wearing masks, identities handed to you by family, culture, social media. You chase what looks good instead of what feels right. But in the second half of life, those masks begin to crack. The noise fades, and what's left is something raw and real: authenticity. Success without struggle breeds arrogance. Success after struggle breeds wisdom. That's why the people who rise later rise higher. They've already been humbled. They've already rebuilt. Immature success is obsessed with being seen. Mature success is obsessed with substance. And in a world drowning in noise and overnight wins, it's the ones who move quietly, who build deeply, who last the longest. Look at the late bloomers who changed everything. Colonel Sanders was 65 when he launched KFC. Before that, he failed in business, sales, even as a gas station operator. But he didn't quit. He refined. He used experience, not excitement, as his foundation. Vera Wang didn't design her first wedding dress until she was 40. She had already lived multiple careers: figure skater, journalist, editor, and each chapter sharpened her eye for detail. She didn't bloom late. She bloomed ready. Stan Lee created his first major comic, Fantastic Four, at 39, after years of rejection. Ray Kroc didn't franchise McDonald's until his 50s. Julia Child published her first cookbook at 49. None of them were behind. They were building depth. They all had one thing in common. They were no longer rushing. They were ready. The story of Antonio captures this perfectly. For years, Antonio worked as a plumber. Dependable, kind, but invisible. By 48, his company let him go. He wasn't fired for lack of skill. He was fired because he'd become forgettable. Another face in the crowd. Weeks passed. Depression hit. Then one morning, staring into the mirror, Antonio asked himself a new question. If I wasn't scared, how would I show up today? That single question changed everything. He stopped calling himself a plumber. He rebranded as a leak prevention strategist, shifting his message from fixing problems to preventing them. He raised his prices, sharpened his image, and began sharing simple water damage prevention tips online. At first, no one cared. 6 months later, his inbox overflowed. Clients began calling him. Today, Antonio leads a small team and a respected business, but more importantly, he owns his story. He's not loud, not bitter, not desperate for attention. He's grounded, and that quiet, steady energy is what makes him powerful. Because while the world was busy watching the loud ones, Antonio was reinventing himself in silence. That's the truth about late bloomers. They're not behind. They're forging depth the world can't see until it's too powerful to ignore. When they move, they don't sprint. They walk, with weight, with purpose. Every step leaves an imprint. Real transformation doesn't happen when the world applauds. It happens when no one notices. That's why late bloomers win. They've learned to build without an audience, to create without clout, to grow without permission. And if you're in that quiet phase right now, that invisible middle ground, it's not punishment, it's preparation. Because the battle you're fighting isn't out there. It's in here, in your mind. Your thoughts aren't harmless. They're commands. Every time you say, "I'm too old," or "maybe I missed my chance," your mind obeys. Not because it's cruel, but because it's trained to follow repetition. That's what Napoleon Hill meant in Think and Grow Rich when he described autosuggestion. The idea that repetition programs belief. Most people have been practicing autosuggestion for years, but not with affirmations, with self-sabotage. They've repeated their limitations so many times, they've turned them into identity. I'm just not good with money. I've never been confident. I'm not a risk taker. No, you've just been rehearsing the wrong script. Here's the new one. You're not late. You're precisely on time. Your scars are experienced. Your delays are depth. You're not behind. You're prepared. At first, it will sound fake. It's supposed to. Feeling fake just means you're saying something new. You're not lying. You're retraining. You're not pretending. You're becoming. Every belief begins as a practice. Every identity begins as a decision. One day, the old voice will grow tired and the new one will take over. Not dramatically, quietly. That's when you'll realize the silence into you no longer mocks you. It mirrors you. And when that happens, you've already begun your return. Reprogramming your mind and reclaiming your environment. Here's something Napoleon Hill didn't sugarcoat. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Think about that for a moment. Every conversation, every complaint, every be realistic you hear is being absorbed by your subconscious. Your environment isn't neutral. It's training you. Most people think their struggle is external, not enough money, time, or opportunity. But the real enemy isn't outside. It's the quiet script running in the background of your mind, shaped by the people and environments you allow to influence you. Those voices that say, "At our age, you can't start over. It's too risky now. You should be grateful for what you have." They sound mature. They sound responsible. But they're viruses, tiny phrases repeated softly enough that you don't even notice when they take root in your identity. The truth? You don't become toxic overnight. You absorb it, one harmless conversation at a time. That's why so many people live the same year 40 times and call it a life. Their programming never changes. You can read all the self-help books, visualize every morning, even repeat new affirmations. But if you spend your evenings surrounded by people who glorify limitations, your progress will stall, because the environment always beats willpower. And here's the tricky part. Toxic environments rarely look toxic. They look familiar. They feel comfortable. They sound like laughter and shared nostalgia. But underneath, the comfort hides a subtle corrosion. Conversations that reinforce fear instead of faith, regret instead of reinvention. Comfort is cozy, but it's a cage. Now, let's be clear. You don't have to cut everyone off and vanish into the woods. But you do need to become a gatekeeper, not of your time, but of your energy, because what you tolerate becomes your subconscious code. You think you're being polite when you sit through another negative rant. You think you're being respectful when you nod along to someone's "it's too late for us" story, but you're not being polite. You're being programmed. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're clarity. A boundary says, "I care about you, but I can't afford your influence right now." Suppression says nothing. It just absorbs the poison with a smile. You're not meant to carry other people's decay while you're trying to grow. Becoming requires purification. That doesn't mean rejection. It means refinement. It means you don't need to justify your growth. You just need to protect it. Because this time, you're not rebuilding to be accepted. You're rebuilding to become unrecognizable. And beware of nostalgia, the sweetest trap of them all. It doesn't feel like an enemy. It feels warm, safe, and familiar. It whispers, "Remember when things were simpler, when you were happier." But nostalgia's hidden danger is that it keeps you tied to a version of yourself that no longer exists. You don't actually miss the past. You miss who you were, the person who still believed, who tried without hesitation, who didn't yet know the sting of disappointment. But here's the question. Was that version of you actually better, or just more naive? You might look back at your 20s or 30s and think, "I was supposed to be farther by now." But that version of your life, the one you imagined, wasn't real. It was a mirage built from everyone else's expectations. You didn't fail. You outgrew the story you were given. And now, it's time to release it. Because clinging to who you were keeps you from becoming who you're meant to be. Carl Jung called this moment the death of the persona, the mask we wear to survive early life. That mask helped you fit in, earn approval, find safety. But now, it's holding you back. True growth requires grief. You have to mourn not just the time you lost, but the person you used to be. Letting go of him isn't betrayal. It's transformation. It's easy to worship who you were, the dreamer, the achiever, the one who thought he'd figure it all out by now. But if that version of you isn't helping you build, he's quietly destroying your evolution. Sometimes the bravest thing you can say is, "Thank you for getting me this far, but I'm not that person anymore." Then close the photo album, stop replaying the old songs, and walk forward, even if you don't yet know who you're walking into. Because the future doesn't belong to the version of you who once hoped. It belongs to the one who's still willing to rise. But here's the thing no one tells you. Transformation isn't instant. There's a middle ground, a season that almost everyone misinterprets. It's the moment when you've let go of who you were, but haven't yet become who you're meant to be. The void. No titles, no clarity, no applause, just silence and uncertainty. You're not who you were, but you're not yet who you're becoming. You're in between, invisible. Most people mistake that for being lost. But it's not confusion, it's construction. Think of a seed underground. No sunlight, no validation, no audience. But beneath the surface, something unstoppable is happening. Roots are forming, strength is building, identity is taking shape. That's what the void is, the birthplace of reinvention. It's not a breakdown, it's a remodel. And when you re-emerge, you won't just come back improved, you'll come back transformed. So if you're in that space, quiet, unseen, uncertain, don't rush it. Don't numb it. This is the season where everything real begins. Because silence isn't the absence of progress. It's the sound of becoming. And when you return, you won't need to announce it. You'll walk into rooms that once ignored you and change the temperature without saying a word. The quiet return, becoming unshakable. The world is loud, painfully loud. Everywhere you turn, there's someone shouting their success, posting their milestones, chasing validation. We live in an age of noise where attention is the new currency, and patience is mistaken for weakness. But here's the paradox. While the world races to be seen, the ones who truly matter are moving in silence. Because when everyone's building fast, the late bloomers are building deep. We're entering a time when charisma isn't enough, where style without substance collapses quickly, where speed without structure destroys itself. The culture is shifting from noise to wisdom, and wisdom, by its nature, takes time. The late bloomer doesn't crave virality, they crave vision. They've already walked through rejection, failure, and invisibility. They've learned how to endure when the world forgets their name. Their fire doesn't flash, it fuses. It doesn't scream, it simmers. And that slow burn, that's conviction, the kind that builds empires, movements, and legacies. We are surrounded by people who build fast but shallow, chasing metrics, not meaning. But late bloomers, they don't chase, they choose. They don't need to impress, they intend to impact. They've learned that lasting success isn't about proving yourself, it's about offering yourself. That shift from proving to offering is the moment ego dies and legacy begins. Because ego builds for attention, purpose builds for alignment. And in a distracted, overstimulated, algorithm-driven world, those who move with depth, presence, and intention aren't just rare, they're revolutionary. So if you feel behind, if you feel like the world has moved without you, breathe. You're not behind. You're being refined. You're not old. You're initiated. The fire that took longer to light burns hotter, wiser, longer. You are not catching up. You're redefining the standard. There won't be a spotlight when it begins. No applause, no viral moment. You'll start rebuilding in silence. One day, one choice, one belief at a time. And yes, it will be lonely. Not because you're forgotten, but because no one recognizes who you're becoming yet. That's how real transformation works. First, it feels like disappearance. Then, emergence. There will be no trophies for healing, no awards for growth, no cameras filming your inner evolution. But that's what makes it sacred. Because rebirth doesn't begin when people notice. It begins the moment you decide. Not to try, not to wish, but to rebuild, brick by brick, thought by thought. And that quiet, disciplined consistency, that's how you become unavoidable. The truth is, time was never your enemy. Comfort was. Comfort keeps you looping, reliving the same patterns, repeating the same excuses, staying in the same room full of people who no longer grow. Comfort keeps you explaining, apologizing, shrinking. But coherence, that's different. Coherence is when the inside finally matches the outside. When your thoughts, your values, your actions, your words all line up. When you no longer have to talk about who you want to be because you've already become it. So if you're quiet right now, if you're off the radar, rebuilding in silence, good. Stay there. Let the silence be your strategy. Let the doubts build pressure. Let the discomfort shape you. Because when you return, you won't come back as the same person. You'll come back as a force. You won't need to announce yourself. Your presence will say it all. The rooms that once ignored you will feel your shift before they even see it. Because power doesn't need permission. It just arrives. Remember this, your story doesn't end in obscurity. It begins there. Obscurity is the soil where greatness grows. Silence is the forge where depth is made. The darkness isn't your enemy, it's your incubator. Every moment you feel unseen, you're actually being rebuilt. Every day you feel behind, you're laying foundation. And when the time comes, your return won't be noticed, it'll be unavoidable. Because the world doesn't need another loud success story. It needs the quiet ones, the ones who took longer, who went deeper, who refused to quit. Now, it's your turn. If you've ever whispered, maybe it's too late, I want you to hear this clearly. It's not. You're right on time. Every scar has taught you something. Every delay has deepened you. Every failure has been shaping your wisdom for this moment. Don't rush to prove, move to become, because this time, you're not chasing approval. You're building alignment. This time, you're not trying to fit in. You're creating something that can't be ignored. And before we close, take a breath and let this truth land. You don't need to be younger. You don't need to be faster. You just need to begin again, not from scratch, from experience. Because now, you're not building from uncertainty. You're building from awareness. You're not just chasing dreams. You're constructing destiny. You've learned, you've failed, you've fallen, but you're still here. And that means your story isn't over. It's only getting started. If this message resonated with you, if something in you knows it's time to rise, I want you to do 3 things. Like this video to tell yourself you're choosing progress over perfection. Subscribe if you're ready to rewrite your story slowly, powerfully, deliberately. Comment below and share what becoming means to you. This community isn't for the loud. It's for the ones who are still building in silence. For the ones who refuse to let age, fear, or timelines define their worth. Because here, we don't chase the clock. We rewrite it. You're not late. You're precisely on time. Now, go become unstoppable.